Hey everyone, it's Mark Smith, host of Digital Roughnecks. And I met this guest that I'm really super excited about at a conference where we both spoke last week. And I thought it was unbelievable, like coincidence, but I don't think it was a coincidence. I just recorded the last episode with Digital Roughneck, Ryan Davies, and he was talking about his recommending that if somebody wants to become a digital roughneck, one of the skills they should learn is Python.
Mm.
Then I hear you speaking and your background, which I want you to tell everybody, and you're talking about the same thing. I thought, okay, that can't be a coincidence. So anyway, I want to welcome you, Haas, to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us about your background because it sounds to me like you've got a similar digital roughneck kind of a story as well.
Yeah. So I started, about 10 years ago. I was on the completion side. I was on the frac side. So I spent about 2 years pumping frac jobs. I was like in the Marcellus, Upper Devonian, Utica Shale. And that was, to be honest with you, that was probably one of the greatest experiences that I've actually gotten. Because it was hands on. I'm kind of a nerdy guy. So for me to be out in the field and be a little hands on, that was a great experience. So I was company man on site. Responsible for pumping a lot of these frac jobs in the Marcellus, Utica, and Upper Devonian. And after a couple of years, I was like, you know what? I'm going to switch over to the reservoir side, just to be more analytical, So I switched over to the reservoir side and spent maybe like 3-4 years on the reservoir side. And in the past like 3-4 years, I've been involved in data science and data engineering role, and it's just my passion. I just love analyzing data. I just love using the toolboxes that we have, especially like with Python and all these libraries that we have now, using those tools to really find patterns and insights from the data. So that's basically my like transition from the frac side, to reservoir and then to the data science role.
So,
Sure.
so how do you go from that mechanical engineering side over to data science?
I think first off, you have to have some passion for it.
Yeah.
I truly love when I started like learning like about the machine learning side. I truly enjoyed like all the algorithms, and there's so much knowledge out there.
Hmm.
And then like I used to code a lot, but then I got busy with life and everything else. So I got back into it. And I truly enjoy it. It's really like I truly love, just sitting down and thinking for hours and thinking about different solutions that we can solve. So what really has helped me tremendously in the oil and gas industry has been because of my field experience. I can take some of the problems that the oil and gas industry has and try to find like digital solutions to those problems.
Hmm.
Since I've been on the frac side, I've been on the production side, on the reservoir side. I kind of understand drilling. I'm not a drilling guy, but I kind of like understand it. I can find issues or problems and come up with a value proposition that we can solve using machine learning and try to kind of couple that with edge devices and apply those real time to really create value for different companies.
Now you're coming out with a new book in April,
Mm-hmm.
and let's talk about that book. But you also written a book before, right? What
Yes,
was?
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was hydraulic fracturing in unconventional reservoirs. That was actually yeah. So I partnered with a couple of professors from West Virginia University to write that book. So since my background was primarily in hydraulic fracturing when I started,
Yeah.
I had a lot of field experience. I wanted to write a book that is plain layman language, that anybody can understand on hydraulic fracturing, on operation side of hydraulic fracturing. So we wrote about hydraulic fracturing in unconventional reservoirs, design, operations, economic analysis. We have so many case studies in there. So this was actually published in 2016, and then the second edition of it came out in 2019. So it was a pretty good success on that book, and it really taught me a lot just along the way. And I love writing. This is my passion. I just do it as like as a hobby. So and then 2 years ago, I contacted Dr. Ali, and I asked him, hey, I think machine learning is becoming a big thing in the oil and gas industry. There is no such a book on, using machine learning or deploying different machine learning models in the oil and gas industry using Python. So I was like, let's just partner and write a book together on machine learning and make it simple, for anybody who would like to learn, as a guide to kind of follow, because if you go online and just search machine learning, there's so much information in there. You get kind of overwhelmed with information, and like the information out there is just a bunch of, other industries, data sets, like housing pricing and iris data set and that kind of stuff, which has nothing to do with the oil and gas, so you can learn those. I mean, it's just, it's a nice, pretty data set that you can work with, but working with actual oil and gas data sets, what kind of problems you can solve, So what we decided to do was, let's just write a book on, first off, let's explain the fundamentals of Python. Here's what you need to know about just the fundamentals, just to get started. Then we'll go into each, algorithm and explain the mathematics behind each algorithm, plain and simple. And then we'll go into Python and code that algorithm within Python using open source like libraries. And then you can pretty much follow along using an oil and gas example, completions analysis, completions optimization, drilling optimization. We're talking about, different problems in geoscience, so that we have about 15 different examples that walks you through step by step, along with the code, how to solve those problems within the oil and gas industry using Python. So that was pretty much the thought process behind it. And I wanted to, I have a lot of passion for teaching. I used to teach at different universities, like in my previous life, So I love teaching. I love sharing my knowledge, So the best way to share that was to write a book and talk about it and just make it simple. Because to be honest with you, if I would go back like 4 years ago, I would have loved to have that book to kind of follow step by step.
Right.
So,
okay, this sounds perfect because, as I mentioned, Ryan shared, hey, the number one skill that he would recommend, somebody who's interested in becoming a digital roughneck was learning Python. And you've got a book specifically for oil and gas professionals. And do you have, is there anything in that book also that points people to like where else, can you learn Python from this, or is there other resources for learning it and then you can apply it to oil and gas? How does that?
Yeah. So to be honest with you, the book starts with the fundamentals of Python.
Yeah.
It covers various libraries, including pandas, NumPy, Seaborn, Matplotlib, Plotly, which are a bunch of visualization libraries. Then it goes into the scikit-learn. Then it goes into deep learning and TensorFlow, So it does have all this stuff that you need at least to get started. There are, and also we're going to put all the codes on on the Elsevier, who's the publisher's website, so you have full access to the data set, to the code. You can, use that code to apply it to your own problem, because once you understand the fundamentals, the step-by-step workflow, you can really think of different problems to solve. Because what truly matters in the oil and gas industry is combining that domain expertise that you have. Let's just say if you're a production engineer and you have no background in data science, well, you understand production engineering very well, right? You understand the mechanics of plunger lift and everything else about it, right? So now if you read the book and you can kind of, I can apply this to this. I can actually optimize this, then it kind of starts giving you ideas. So the whole point of the book was to give people ideas on, okay, here's an example on how you can optimize completions. Here's an example on how you can optimize, drilling. What can I do? What other problems can I apply it to? And the codes are simple to follow. There's an explanation for line by line of code, So that was the thought process behind that. It's just to help people, get started and really take their game to the next level.
Just tell me that you would love to have a 1 hour Q&A with people who would love to learn more about the book, but just be able to Q&A with them about getting into this. Would you and maybe your co-author be willing to do that?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
As a follow-up there, guys, I'm going to put all the show notes at digitalroughnecks.com, all the links to how you can get Haas's new book and how you can sign up for this exclusive 1 hour Q&A with Haas and coming out with his new book.